You see this reporting mark? This one here? What do you think it's representing? Most people that know the basics on railroading would probably know it as the reporting mark of the Metro North. And, well, no. This is the reporting mark of another railroad that faded into history and become literally forgotten to the point where it has risen to becoming one of California's most forgotten railroads. This is the Modoc Northern. These standard gauge tracks were laid in June 1927 by a non-operating Southern Pacific subsidiary. This subsidiary was the Modoc Northern Railroad. Nobody knew it at that time, but this company would actually become a railroad later on. This line became SP's Modoc Line, after Modoc County, California, and the Modoc Indians of northeastern California and southeastern Oregon. Said line was at first narrow gauge to the previous owner, the Nevada, California, Oregon Railroad, being narrow gauge before the SP grabbed it. This line would later be transferred to Union Pacific's ownership after the merger in 1995. When UP got ownership, they abandoned part of the line from the southern terminus at Wendell, Nevada, to Alturas, California due to low freight volume. As for the line between Klamath Falls, Oregon and Alturas, California, it became quickly apparent that UP was uninterested in this line and wanted the line to be operated by someone else. Their chance would come within the term of the new millennium. By 2005, UP had found some interest in Lake County, Oregon. By November 1st, UP leased the line from Lake County, and the county formed the Modoc Northern. The railroad first originally had 104 miles from Alturas to Klamath Falls. The other 56 that we gained later came from the Lake County Railroad, as both railroads effectively became one on March 17, 2006. This allowed the MNR to gain one extra engine from Lake County, but we'll get to that later. What we can get to now is the map. The railroad starts off at Klamath Falls, Oregon, interchanged with UP's Cascade subdivision, and heads south, passing the towns of Texum, Schuylkill, and Lost River before approaching Merrill, Oregon. Merrill holds the place where sugar beets are loaded for trips either south or north. Continuing southbound, the railroad passes through Malone before crossing the state border into California. It goes through Hatfield and into Tule, California, crossing the county line from Siskiyou County and into Modoc County. It is Tule that Modoc Northern is headquartered in. The line then runs more southwest through Tuber, Stronghold, Newell, Copic, and Paris before making it to Ambrose. Ambrose holds Howard's Gulch, a 2.2% grade. This leads down to Canby and then Alturas, the county seat of Modoc County. Alturas begins what is formerly the Nevada, California, Oregon Narrow Gauge Railroad, and later the Lake County Railroad. This part of the line was acquired by the Modoc Northern in 2006 by the request of Lake County officials, so that's where we will continue. Although the line does head more south to MacArthur, marking the actual southern end to the MNR, we still have 54 more miles to go, this time going north. We follow US Route 395 while we make our northbound journey. Leaving Alturas, we enter the Pitt River Canyon, eventually passing the North Fork of the Pitt River at BIA Route 76, also passing the California Agricultural Inspection Station later. The train passes through Davis Creek and continues north. It slowly passes the area of Goose Lake before crossing the border into Oregon once again at New Pine Creek. The train would then arrive at Lakeview, Oregon at the second normal terminus. Now we'll get into motive power. I'll go from oldest to youngest like an engine to CCT. 700 was built as a GP7 for the Nickel Plate Road in August 1953 as NKP 436. When the NKP was merged into Norfolk and Western in 1964, the 436 kept its number, only adding a 2 for the prefix. The unit would be retired from NNW in 1977 and sent to Weyerhaeuser Timber Company in Washington State, working as WTCX 7076. It was then brought to the Chehalis Western Railroad, a railroad also owned by Weyerhaeuser, in the 1980s. Next it was sent to the Columbia and Cowlitz, yet another Weyerhaeuser Railroad, to replace the Fairbanks Morse H1244, numbered as 700 in 1989. In 1998, Lake County purchased the unit for the Lake County Railway. It then found itself on the Modoc Northern in 2006, when the Modoc Northern got the unit from an operating agreement that included operating the Lake County Railway up to Lakeview from Alturas. It would be repainted into Modoc Northern colors by 2007. 651 was built in 1957 for the Duluth-Mesabian Iron Range number 130. It is this reason for the weird sand cap placement. During service with the DM&IR, it was rebuilt with some modifications, being classified as an SDN. The Birmingham Southern Railroad of Alabama would then get it in its sister unit 152, which I'll get to soon, in 1966. The unit continued on the BSR 640 until being sold to Titan Rail in 2007. The unit was leased to Modoc Northern in 2008. 650 was built as DM&IR SD9 152, was rebuilt into an SDM, and ran on the Birmingham Southern as 652 in 1966, before being sent to S&S Leasing in 2007. It and 651 were then refurbished by Titan Rail in 2007 and were sent to work, being leased by the Modoc Northern in 2008. Built by EM Diaz and SW1000 in May 1966 for the CB&Q as 9315, 3647 would then be transferred to Burlington Northern on March 2nd of 1970 when the CB&Q, Northern Pacific, and Great Northern merged into it. The unit would then be renumbered to 579 and work for the BN until 1995, when the BN merged with the AT&SF to become BNSF. 579 would then be renumbered again to 3647 and would work until May 23rd of 2008, where it would become part of the Modoc Northern. Its intention was to be used just for switching in Lakeview, but it did see some mainline use. Though there was one problem with the unit. Its unit caused frequent brush fires and was even named Engine House Queen because it ended up being in the engine house more rather than working as intended. 1011 was built by GE in September 1978 as part of the B23-7 line for the Southern Railway as 3974 that was purchased for use on the Alabama Great Southern trackage. Since the railroad had its preference for high hoods, the 1011 was built with this. It would work on Southern trackage until the Southern merged with the Norfolk and Western in 1982 to form Norfolk Southern. NS 3974 would work up until sometime in 1999 with the rest of the B23s. It was sold to RailNet, before being sold to Modoc Northern in 2005. 7780 is the other GE the Modoc Northern owned. It was built as St. Louis Southwestern 7780 in January of 1980. SP, the Cotton Belt's owner, classified the unit as a GF430C. When the Cotton Belt was absorbed into Southern Pacific in 1992, it was relettered in the SP in its speed lettering passed from the Denver and Rio Grande Western when that railroad purchased SP and rebranded in 1989. The unit managed to survive into the Union Pacific days until being sold in 2005 to Utah Central and then to Modoc Northern. The Modoc Northern managed to handle very well. However, the railroad did have financial trouble starting in 2009. The railroad would continue struggling up until May 5, 2009. UP had been steadily watching and, seeing its poor performance, pulled the plug on the lease by then. NNRR tried appealing, but it failed, spelling the end of the Modoc Northern. In the end, Lake County also canceled their lease, thus making the Lake County Railroad an NTT again, and regaining 700 and even getting 1011, which I'll get to the status of the locomotives later. As for the line, the section between Klamath Falls and Alturas was given back to UP, while the Alturas to Lakeview section went from the Lake County Railroad to simply the Lake Railway, after Lake County found a new client to take over the railroad, Frontier Rail. When Frontier Rail's lease ended on the Lake County in 2017, however, they had to leave the line. As of now, the Goose Lake Railway operates the line with an ex-Central California traction, which was originally an Alameda Beltline GP7U.